What's going on, guys? So here we're talking about the main event at Bellator 273. Now, this is in lieu of a UFC card. I mean, no other fights to watch on the main stage besides Eagle FC, which is Khabib's new promotion he's taking over. So a couple of fun circus-like fights on there, some familiar names, but more interested betting-wise and entertainment-wise in this Bellator 273. We've got Ryan Bader defending his heavyweight strap, his last remaining belt against Valentin Moldavsky. So we're going to take a look at that. From a betting standpoint, I like a few spots already. I've already got a few spots bet on this weekend's card. The main event I find particularly intriguing just because Ryan Bader has just fought the who's who of professionals in the MMA world for a long time. I remember the first time I saw Ryan Bader was in 2008, and that was when he won the Ultimate Fighter against Vinny Magalhaes, beating that guy. So, I mean, a long time ago. He's fought a lot of people since then, both in the UFC and Bellator, and he's kind of become the star over in Bellator, winning both belts, and you know, he's looking to bounce back in his older age now, 38 years old. Crazy he's still doing it. But he's trying to move back up after, you know, kind of losing his spot in the 205s and getting knocked out not only by Vadim Nemkov, but Corey Anderson as well, both pretty early. So, you know, durability issues, things like that against just making that weight cut down to 205. He's a big guy, and getting older, that's probably just not going to get any easier. So, kind of a desperation move back up to heavyweight is kind of how I see this. And he usually has a success in the heavyweight division over like slow, lumbering heavyweights, you know. So that is not what Valentin Moldavsky is at all. He's a young guy, 29 years old, about the same size, just an inch shorter than Ryan Bader at 6'1", and taking an inch of reach over him too at 75 inches of reach. So as far as the durability issues go, Ryan Bader might not have to worry about that as much. I mean, Valentin's not really a power puncher. He's only finished, I think, one guy in his, 11-fight pro career so far. So he's not one of these giant, lumbering, heavy-hitting heavyweights. He is very, very athletic, very fast, usually weighing in around like the low 230s. And he competes kind of like his mentor, Fedor. He's on Team Fedor Emelianenko. He competes in Sambo as well as mixed martial arts simultaneously. So that might be why he stays a little bit smaller. He's used to being in good conditioning shape and making weight in another sport as well. So I take that as a big advantage. He's a young guy. He's staying active, very athletic frame. And that could give Ryan Bader a little bit of trouble. What Ryan Bader's got going for him, though, is that grapple-heavy style. He's got a good gas tank, very good cardio. He can wrestle from round 1 to round 5. And if he chooses to do that against Valentin, he might be very successful. And that's why I think there's actually value in Ryan Bader at this plus 220 price tag. I mean, he's a big underdog. He was like in the plus 200s as far as an underdog price early in the week. And even just today, money started flowing in on him. People are taking the dog shot on Ryan Bader, and I do not blame them. The minus 260 is the comeback on Moldavsky is a pretty sizable favorite. So it's a confusing matchup betting-wise because I do think that Valentin Moldavsky has all of the intangibles to win this fight. I think he's got the just the athleticism. I think he's got the youth. And I think that he's got a good camp. I mean, in Fedor. Fedor's had to prepare for Ryan Bader, as well as Vadim Nemkov has also had to prepare for Ryan Bader and was successful in solving that puzzle. So this is kind of like the third Team Fedor matchup against Ryan Bader. So they are kind of used to doing the tape study on him, used to figuring out. He probably brought in a lot of wrestle-heavy guys over, you know, in Russia to kind of mimic that style. And I think that he has that going for him. So, but prediction-wise, I'm leaning towards the Valentin Moldavsky side of things. I just think his momentum, his, the team around him, and I think just the age itself at 29 years old, I think it's his time. And Ryan Bader, you know, making a kind of inactive attempt at being a heavyweight. You know, he's had durability issues at light heavyweight. I don't think those will really get much better at heavyweight, you know, no matter if Valentin's a hard hitter or not. I mean, you're talking about a heavyweight throwing strikes. I mean, if you've got durability issues at 205, those probably are not going to get much better at heavyweight. So, just straight pick-wise, I'm leaning towards Valentin. But, man, I mean, just the experience that Ryan Bader has. He's faced a who's who of competitors around the world since, for like a decade and a half. And 38 years old, we're getting up there in age, but you can still be heavyweight at 38 years old. I think that there is value on the Ryan Bader side from a betting perspective, but just looking without the betting numbers, I'm going to lead Moldavsky to win this one. But here's my betting strategy for this fight. I mean, it's a chalky Bellator card. There's going to be some parlays involved. So I've already got a Moldavsky parlayed up with another guy later on in the card, which is Islam Mamedov. I think that he is the rightful pick against Benson Henderson. I might add a couple other parlays on there, maybe like do a progressive parlay type of deal and just have some fun with this card. But if my parlay is live to the main event, and I'm looking at Ryan Bader potentially grapple fucking Moldavsky to a decision win, I might have to put some hedge out on Ryan Bader, which would be an easy hedge out. You can just hedge out, on a plus 220 underdog and guarantee profit for the night. I've done that strategy many a time to great success. Trying to dig myself out of this small hole that I have. I think we're looking at like a 3 or 4 unit hole for 2022 so far between the two UFC events. So that might be my strategy. I might throw Moldavsky in a parlay, which I've already done. I've already put him in a 2-leg parlay. And if that parlay is just riding hot, then, I might just hedge out on Ryan Bader at money line. Now, Ryan Bader, I think his best bet here is winning by decision. And he is 13-0 professionally by decision. Right now, currently, you can get Ryan Bader by decision at plus 450. That might not be a bad option either, to just throw like a half unit on there. And, if Valentin Moldavsky is just getting taken down against the cage over and over again, that could be very frustrating. But if you got that, 0.5 units multiplied by 4.5, I mean, you could be looking at a pretty good insurance policy there. So that's my betting strategy. I'm going Moldavsky as the pick. I think he's the rightful favorite. I don't think he should be that big of a favorite. So value in Ryan Bader. If you're gonna take an underdog shot on this card, Ryan Bader is not a bad one. But I'm picking Valentin Moldavsky to win this fight, and I think he's gonna win inside the distance. Okay, moving on from the main event, there's just a couple other spots I'd like to discuss about. Fights that I either have a strong lean on, a strong read on, or just interested in a betting standpoint. And the next up is the CoMain Event, which is Benson Henderson versus Islam Mamedov. And Benson Henderson, this sucks to, unlike Bader. I mean, we've all seen Bader in the UFC and things like that. He was never a big favorite of mine, but I was very partial to Benson Henderson. He was one of my favorite fighters. One of those guys coming out of the WEC, merged to the UFC and achieved the highest status he could at 155, becoming the UFC lightweight champion. And he was one of the guys who, before it was cool, he was able to strike and weave that into some slick grappling as well. Slick submission, slick striking, but his best days are definitely behind him. 38 years old and kind of moving into like this more older veteran grinding approach to win fights, and it's just not working for him as of recently. He's in a big slump, losing to Brent Primus, and trying to drag out some of these younger guys in the deeper waters in a decision fight. It's just not working out for him. Islam Mamedov is the real deal. Very, very, very impressive record, 20-1. He's bigger, he's younger, and as far as just like that classic Russian grappling style, I mean, this guy nails that better than anybody else. He's just going to nail control time. It might not be the most exciting fight, but I just think he's going to be able to absolutely control Benson Henderson on the ground, stay competent enough to avoid any tricky submissions from the veteran Benson Henderson. And I just think he takes this fight. I mean, he's a very, very chalked up, like he was like minus 450 That has moved down now. Some underdog money's coming on Benson Henderson. I think we're looking at like a minus 390 or so for Islam Mamedov. Still a huge favorite, but I think he's parlayable. Yeah, you could probably get a cheaper line on that if you take him by decision, which is the most likely path to victory. But I'm going to take it Islam Mamedov all day on this one, which sucks because I do love Benson Henderson, and I would love to see him ride off in the sunset with a victory, but it's just not how this game works. Give me Islam Mamedov. Moving on to one of the next fights I'm interested in because it's a closely lined fight, a closely contested fight, I think it's going to be, is Henry Corrales against Aiden Lee. Another one of these fights where there's a big age discrepancy here. Styles are, about as opposite as you can get in this situation. Aiden Lee, the younger guy. Henry Corrales, 35-year-old featherweight. But he's, had a journeyman's career. He's got a lot of skills. He hits hard. And, Aiden Lee, great submissions, and that's usually what stumps Henry Corrales is the submission game, a heavy grappling game. Again, he's been subbed by good competition, but Aiden Lee has got the skills, and I think with his long frame, I think Henry Corrales is going to have to crash into the pocket to get in close and score points, and when he does so, I think he's going to risk getting taken down. I think he's going to risk getting, pressured against the cage even, just out-transitioned. I think it'll hit the mat at some point. I think Aiden Lee will lock up a submission and get this done inside the distance, So, again, it's a close fight, and if Aiden Lee is too hesitant to make those transitions to a ground fight, I think he could lose his consciousness against Henry Corrales, but the way I see this fight playing out is Aiden Lee by submission. Now, value-wise, if you get Aiden Lee at plus money, which I think we've missed the boat on at this point, I got Aiden Lee, got a unit on him at plus 100. I think a plus number is worth betting on an Aiden Lee. Anything short of that, I think it's a pass betting-wise, honestly. Unless we're very partial to the Corrales side. I think we missed the boat betting on Aiden Lee value-wise. Let me just check the lines one more time, see where we're at with it. Yep, a lot of books have this as a pick, a minus 115, minus 115. Aiden Lee, a lot of money coming in on him. I think people liked him as an underdog, so now he's at a minus 125 on DraftKings. Comeback plus 105 on Henry Corrales. So, yeah, like I said, I think there's enough value. This is a close enough fight where if you were able to get a plus 100 or better underdog price than Aiden Lee, I'd say you take the stab on that betting-wise. If not, I would probably pass on this for now unless the lines flip back around, but I don't think they will. So, prediction-wise, give me Aiden Lee by submission. Up next, another fight that I think this is leading the top of the prelims. Enrique Barzola taking on Darrion Caldwell. Two fighters who I think their MMA game is kind of regressed, if I may say. Darrion Caldwell, very, very good grappling, very, very good wrestling chops. I mean, his cardio recently has kind of failed him, though. He's been losing some fights that way. Enrique Barzola, on the other hand, a lot of times Enrique Barzola looks better in rounds 3 than he does in rounds 1 and 2, which I do like. I would rather him not drop an easy round to 1 with a bad game plan, but his heart, you cannot question. I mean, his last fight in the UFC before he departed last year was against Ronnie Yaya, where he scored a draw because he dropped rounds 1 and 2, came back and absolutely just smelled blood in the water against a guy with, a depleting gas tank, and that was in Ronnie Yaya, and he was able to get a draw in that fight. Now he's coming into Bellator, and, Enrique Barzola is just an interesting case because I think in this fight, Caldwell is the more athletic and the more gifted fighter, probably the more skill, the better fighter. But, man, his heart just does not live up to the same heart as Enrique Barzola. And I like a guy who's willing, if I'm going to bet on a guy, I want a guy who's willing to fight for my money all the way through. And when Darrion Caldwell has shown the door, sometimes he takes it and just leaves the fight. I mean, we're looking at a guy who, just has very, very impressive wrestling early in a fight, but sometimes tires himself out with it. And when the going gets tough, he's just content just to lay on top and not have much action going. Whereas I could see Enrique Barzola throwing strikes from the bottom if Caldwell's on top of him. I see him being very, very active, trying to scramble to his feet, maybe even go for takedowns himself and maybe land some of those against the better wrestler in Caldwell when Caldwell gets tired. So I see him, you know, if Barzola can win either rounds 1 or edge out round 2, I think at the end of the fight, he's definitely going to be the fresher man and just the man with better heart. So I'm going to take Enrique Barzola. Again, from a betting perspective, though, let's see where we're at here. The lines on this, you got to forgive me, the lines on this are definitely changing by the hour. I mean, the the lines have flipped in a couple of fights. And let's see where we're at with Barzola and Caldwell here. We're at Darian Caldwell on DraftKings Sportsbook is plus 105. Enrique Barzola minus 125. See, there's money coming in on Caldwell here. I think people are looking at this guy and looking at his past and seeing a discount with a plus number. So they're driving that number down a little bit. And Barzola has come all the way down from like a minus 140 or minus 150. I saw him. Yeah, all the way down to minus 145. I saw him, and now he's up to minus 115 on a couple bucks. So this might be a spot where you might want to just wait. If you're on the Barzola side, like I am, wait and get plus money. I think there's a better value on him, you know, in that spot. As a plus money underdog, I'd feel better than betting Barzola as a chalky favorite. I think sometimes, you know, there's that consideration that both casual fans and the bookmakers have, and that a guy coming from the UFC is just automatically going to steamroller somebody in like a lesser promotion like Bellator. But that's just simply not the case these days. The growing roster of the UFC, in my opinion, I mean, I don't even think it's a hot take. I think with the growing roster, the number of events that they're trying to hold a year, the average level of talent that the UFC has actually gone down a little bit, since they kind of accept anybody these days to fill some of these last-minute spots. So Enrique Barzola, admittedly one of the lesser caliber UFC guys, I think he'll fight right in the mix in Bellator. So it might be a good move competitively. And yeah, I'd rather see a plus number in front of Enrique Barzola, but I will take him for a prediction to win a very, very close decision. So those are my picks that I find. On the rest of the card, there's some chalky favorites that probably should come through, but we should probably just leave our money off of. So yeah, give me Moldavsky, give me Mamedov, give me Aiden Lee, and give me Barzola. But I'm very excited to watch these fights. I'm excited to watch Eagle FC on Friday, and this will take the place of a UFC card for this week. And after that, I think we've got a ton of consecutive UFC events, starting with Strickland versus Hermanson the first weekend of February. So, all right, we'll see you next time, and enjoy the fights.